Thanks for coming. I want to welcome you here to the shore thing in May, and appreciate you guys weathering the wind and coming on a busy day. I'm sure everybody's getting ready for the busy weekend with family and all that, but I know I think Jeanine's bringing in a great topic, so we have a lot of interest in that, so appreciate that. I just wanted to get it started here before we turn it over, but I wanted to start with just introducing myself. I'm Beth Wiesenauer. I'm one of the new board members, just started in the fall, so I guess that's why they wrote me into the minutes, right? So Zone C actually took over a board position from Linda, who was on board for several years, but now has a big township position, so appreciate all the work that she did. But anyway, so Jan and I are board representatives for Zone C, which you can see on the map. The zone is the blue zone there. And just wanted you to just review again who the board members are and the zones and all that in case you need a little refresher. But Zone A, so you have Bob, John, Nancy, Deanna, and George. If you want to stand up, thank you, so people know that. Zone A, how many people are raising hands? Who's in Zone A here? Oh, they even know what zone they're in. Yeah, great. Okay. Zone B, which is yellow. I was going to say the best, but I think Zone C is the best. So B is for big yellow. It's a big yellow zone. So Ruth, Steve, Dean, Andy, Ken, John, you want to stand up for people? Remind who you are on the board representing him. Thank you. Thank you. And raise your hand if you're Zone B. Oh, nice. Nice representative there. Thank you for coming. Zone C, so Zone D, you can see D is the orange zone there down around Skegmog. Do we call it Skegemog? Skegmog? What's the Skegemog? All right. Okay, so Zone D, we have Bob who's not here. Bob and Bill, are they here? Okay, do we have anybody from Zone D here? All right. All right. And then Zone E, Mary Beth, who's the company. There she is. She's got the river. Who's got Zone E? Anybody else? No. Oh, we need some more river people. Okay. All right, and then of course Sam and Michael are support people, which are invaluable to the board, and we appreciate them enormously. So, anybody who doesn't know their zone? All right. Okay, so agenda tonight, we do have, George wants to give a few comments, President's information from him as the ESLA President, so he's got several kind of important and interesting things to talk about. So we'll give him a few minutes to talk before we bring in our main event here, Jeanine Rubert, who is here from, she actually lives on Elk Lake, Elk River, right? So she's a local gardener, expert gardener, and she is co-owner of Pine Hill Nursery in Traverse City. She also writes a column in the Record Eagle, Traverse City, and she's also has a call-in radio show on 580, AM 580 on Fridays at 10:30. So another good reference. So, and she's got a lot of information that you'll be able to take home as well. So we'll have most of the information tonight will be with her. Okay, so that's the agenda for tonight. I just wanted to put up here quickly before I turn it over to George, just a note that there's a lot of things going on over the summer, and these are just the key topic areas with some key dates, but there should be an email that had gone out, and there'll be several other communications around each of these to give you more detail. But the next meeting here in June will be the big 75th anniversary. And you do have to RSVP and reserve for that, so that'll be a big event. We are part of the horse show this year. That week in July, specifically July 6th, ESLA will get the proceeds from that night from the ticketing. So we wanted to mention that. You'll see more details on that as well. Evenings on River Street. You see our the signage here. The tent outside will be at the River Street evenings. Every week this summer, we'll have a booth there. And July 23rd is the Lake and Stream Night, so it kind of emphasizes the marina and lake learning tours. So did that last year, and it was kind of a big hit. We have boat tours that you can sign up for, and they'll take you around the lake and kind of give you some information about it. So if you sign up on that. The short thing events, which are these meetings, will happen throughout the summer. And then there's also Georgia setting up zone meetings, so informational meetings specifically for each zones are going to be set up as well. There's actually one more thing I didn't get on here, but they're actually scheduling some boat inspections, safety inspections that the sheriff has agreed to do at the marina this summer, where they'll come, you can bring your boat and they'll go through your boat and make sure that you have all the safety instruments and all that. So. And it's free.
And no penalty.
They'll give you a sticker. They'll give you a sticker if you pass, and the marina will have sale on any of the things that you might need to buy. So, anyway, there's more information, a lot more information in the email and also on the website, and will be coming out over the summer. So, okay.
Thank you.
George, turn it over.
Good evening. Good evening. I'm George Seifried. I'm the current president, as Beth gave me a great introduction. No resume or accolades, Beth, that you want to add to my presence? Well, in any event, I'm so happy to sort of lead the troop of volunteers and board members. There's 15 board members right now, and we're always looking to add more talent to the board. Give us better capabilities of attacking some of the challenges that we have out here in the future. So welcome, showing your interest. Any of our board members, be glad to talk to you about that opportunity. This is the first Sure Thing I've been at. We had a Sure Thing back here in April. The main focus of that Sure Thing event was the boat safety. The Coast Guard was there, the sheriff was there, and we had a lot of, from what I understand, a lot of great input from them and then from the audience as well about some of the topics. And even though it didn't make it to the list, John Spevacek and Bob McCreary have been working on getting the Coast Guard, as Beth indicated, to come to the Elk Lake Marina on Elk Rapids, whatever it is. You know, the Upper Harbor Marina that I'm talking about. But the Coast Guard's going to come in there and do free boat inspections. And in cooperation with the marina, they'll be providing us space to do that and also providing some discounts on materials that they sell there during that whole day. And I think it might be even a couple of days, different days, John?
Yeah, I think we're going to be working that out. The person from the Coast Guard is out of the country right now. When he gets back, we're going to do a Zoom call and get we'll have a place on the website you can sign up.
So there'll be much more information coming out. So please read the email blast that we send out, and please also look at the Facebook page, because we do a lot of posting on Facebook. Since this is the first in-person meeting, I wanted to thank all of you who are members, who are thinking about becoming members, and also those who support us financially. Especially this year and last year. In the fall of last year, we had to go out because of the litigation that we're involved in with Burnett Foods. We needed to raise some funds. And I wanted to thank each of you who have participated in that. We put our request out for assistance in, I believe it was late October, maybe early November, and people quickly responded to that. So at whatever level you helped us, please take our thanks very seriously. We can't proceed with this and bring a solution and resolution to this problem without your support. So thank you very much for doing that. Beth has gotten all of the things up here that are of importance for us going forward. And, you know, the board has not been resting on its laurels all winter, even though some of us have been vacationing in different places. But a lot of things go on during the winter. The board has been very active. We've been coming up with what projects we're going to work on environmentally, where the work plans are for different issues, some of these events to celebrate our 75th year. And you can see that a lot of these are scheduled, things we haven't done before, but it's in recognition of the accomplishments that this organization has done over the last 75 years to get us out there more in the on the front lines of the newspapers and people's conversation to talk about the organization, what work we do. But I'd be remiss tonight if one of the things I did not do would be to recognize Sam. Sam, would you mind standing up, please? I think everybody pretty much knows Sam. Sam is our lake biologist. She's a very accommodating, flexible person that does all kinds of things that the board asks for. But last Friday night, the Northern Michigan Environmental Action Coalition, a big organization of people who are involved in environmental issues all over Northern Michigan, had a recognition dinner for naming in various categories the Environmentalist of the Year. Environmentalist of the Year. Wow. Sam had won that award last Friday night in the professional category. Sam, I think you can hear how much everybody appreciates the work you do. The path that you have chosen for your career and the things you want to accomplish are obviously showing to a lot of other people, not just up here, but you're demonstrating that. So congratulations on that award. Sam basically was recognized at that award dinner, and it was specifically mentioned that it was a lot because of the work that she has been doing on the lawsuit, of the monitoring, sampling, and there's a whole story for how we got involved in that, but some of the initial information came to the board and the other plaintiffs, if you will, through the work that Sam did. So she and also Heather Smith, who works for the Watershed Center of Grand Traverse Bay, were both recognized for that honor that night. So thank you again, Sam. Thank you. We've had some emails received at the organization, and I've got some calls. People have been talking along the street about the high water levels that everybody's been experiencing since March and April. We looked into that. We talked to Antrim County people, the Drainage Commissioner, the operator of dams, and questioned why they don't have some better controls on what is happening on the rivers and lakes. There's a long explanation for that, but basically it was sort of a combination of the significant amount of precipitation that occurred through the winter, the rain and ice that sort of followed that in late March and early April, and then to compound that, there was a problem with one of the outlets in the dam was plugged up with, shouldn't use the word plugged up. They have two turbines that generate electricity. One of those turbines was not operable, and so the amount of water passing through that outlet was less than it would usually be. And so that problem has been fixed, but that deterred the amount of water that could be released into the bay. As an outgrowth of those problems, and for several years those problems have existed at different magnitudes because of the rains and the control. The Antrim County commissioners approved $125,000 budget for the Drain Commission and the operator of dams to spend money on further investigating the problems and to help improve those things. That was approved by Antrim County on May 1st, and in talking with Leslie Myers, who is who holds both of those positions, she says that work will be getting started. She has established what's called the Lake Level Committee for the county, which is addressing both the upper chain and the lower chain. And I was at a meeting just this afternoon for the lower chain group, and there will be some work coming out here and some work plans that will start to be advertised pretty soon. But it'll take a while for these problems to be not necessarily eliminated, but controlled much better. As a part of that, the county commission, I want to make everyone aware of this, the county commission also talked about in their resolution what they call a special assessment district. And back in 1974, when the lake levels were established by the court back then in 74 also established a special assessment district. that special assessment district was established so that if the county wanted, they could assess special fees to people within, or to properties, I should say, within that zone, which was basically at that time, I'm told, it was the whole county, not just riparians. And they have only once, I believe it was in 1990, put a fee there and collected funds from that. But they particularly talked about that at their meeting and in the actual resolution. And so I think we should all be forewarned to be cognizant of what we hear about these things, because I think we're going to hear more and more about it from the county commissioners as they have to raise funds to fix the problems along our waterways, the drainage issues. The Bel Air Dam is anticipated to take about $5 to $7 million to fix problems associated with that they've already identified and are in the design stage. And here in Elk Rapids, the dam is operating fine. There's no structural issues or failure issues that they've identified, but the spillway where the high water is supposed to be discharged down through Kids Creek into the bay, that spillway overflow, if you will, has some operational and cracks in it. And so there's a lot of water leaking out that shouldn't be. So they're going to be working on that. So there are going to be some monies that need to be raised through grants and probably through this special assessment district that they talked about. Upcoming events, Beth had included these. These are great. And I hope you can see from this and from the banners and the tent, we, the board, don't think ESLA gets enough recognition. And not too many people know about us. So one of the things we've decided this year is, especially since it's the 75th year, is to toot our own horn, so to speak, and talk about some of the accomplishments of all these people over the last 75 years and where we're going in the future. And so some of these activities have been sort of earmarked so that we're more out in the public, we're available, that kind of thing. I'll just speak lastly about the zone meetings. The idea of the zone meetings is, in a meeting such as this, we have a lot of people, maybe people don't want to speak up and tell us about issues. The zone meetings are meant to be more of a town hall kind of thing. Hopefully we get a dozen, maybe 24 people will come to these locations, spread out in each zone, not necessarily here, not here at all as a matter of fact, but spread out in each zone, and then we can get to talk. We'll fill you in on what might be happening in your area, but then hopefully you can tell us what concerns you. And these thoughts that we share will hopefully help us formulate where we go in the future, the near future, and perhaps even the much longer term future of ESLA. So if we're going to stick around for a lot more years and be proactive and protect this area that we all love, these natural resources, we need to hear your voices. So we appreciate it if you'll do that and attend those for us. Please check out for all the information and details. We have a Facebook page. Sam, including all of the environmental work she does for us, is an excellent Facebook composer. And I don't know what she means by all that, but she says it's working real well. But we have a Facebook page. Please go out there, particularly things that just sort of come up, that we don't have prepared for. We can post those things pretty quick, and Sam is very good at doing it. Michael handles pretty much the stuff that goes out on our emails, so that's where we can take a little bit more time to prepare the kind of information we want to share and we should share. So look at both of those when you get them. Open up that thing. Just don't throw it in the trash or don't unopen it, because we can track you. People tell me there's ways that we have tools that we can track people. So that's all I have to say for tonight. I want to thank Beth for handling this, and she said that most appropriately and properly. If you're late to the boat, you get assigned all the good jobs. But thank you for doing that. Also want to thank Ruth, and there she is, Ruth and all your buddies for taking care of our repast tonight, the food and the drinks. I want to also thank two longtime business supporters, Village Market and Shorts. They have been providing us with beverages for probably 5-8 years. I don't know. Some years, their business is in such a situation that they can't do as much, and sometimes they can do pretty well. This year, I think they're doing pretty good at Shorts, because I picked up 16 cases of refreshments. That takes, not tonight, but it's for the entire season, for all our Short Thing events and our annual meeting. So please remember to thank them. If you run into any of these folks, when you're over at the pool barn or up in Bel Air or in the market, please thank anyone there. Thank them for their generosity. But thank you all for coming tonight. And with that, I will turn it over back to Beth.
Thank you. Okay, we have our special event speaker here. I'm going to just get her laptop fired up.
I think I better switch to water from that.
Ah.
I won't need that.
We'll probably want you to, just so we can record that. Unless you think you can get the cloud.
Yeah, I know. Usually.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to use a mic. Oh, I've got 5 brothers. Are you sure I have to use the mic?
Yeah.
All right. So thank you for having me. I'm a little bit nervous. This is a crowd about half the size more than what I'm used to speaking in front of. I feel like I'm going to be tied to my notes a little bit here, but I am going to try to get through this without too many mistakes. So we're going to talk a little bit about sustainable gardening tonight. And we want to talk about what it is and why is it important. So traditional gardening and landscaping practices, while they frequently meet our needs and aesthetics, and I'm also Italian, so I talk with my hands. So the microphone's not going to stay right here. I guarantee you that. All right. I don't know if I can talk without using my hands, actually. Even when I'm on the radio, I talk with my hands, and nobody can see me. All right. So while it frequently meets our needs, it has a lot of harmful impacts. So when we start to clear native woodlands and other natural habitats for urban and suburban growth and replace them with vast lawns, acres of asphalt and concrete, or manicured arrangements of exotic ornamentals, we suffer and we exact a heavy toll on our health and on the health of our environment. So because we can't keep doing what we're doing and expect vibrant, healthy communities, we have to learn to balance our needs with those of the environment. And sustainable, beneficial landscaping and gardening practices attempt to do just that. So, is it okay? All right. Am I keeping the mic in the right place?
Yes.
All right, let's see. So before we discuss what sustainable gardening is, let's talk about what it isn't. It's not clearing all the native woodlands for more growth. It's also not manicured arrangements of exotic ornamentals and vast expanses of lawn. And then replacing it with this, right? Lots of asphalt, concrete, urban sprawl, more golf courses, more shopping centers. So unrelenting growth continues, and it covers 2 million acres per year. And just for comparison, that's about the size of Yellowstone National Park. That's how much we cover. We've turned 54% of the lower 48 states into a mixture of cities,
suburbs, roads, airports, shopping centers, golf courses, infrastructure, and a few isolated habitat areas. And we also, 41% more of the US is in various forms of agriculture. So we humans have taken 95% of the natural world and made it unnatural. So why should we care about this? Because everything is connected. We like nature, right? But it's always been, oops, I think I turned myself off. It's always been nature's here and humans are over here. And never the two shall meet unless we want to be on vacation, go to the beach or hike a trail or something like that. So we've all heard the term biodiversity. What that refers to is the variety of life on Earth, and it encompasses all living organisms, their genetic variations, and the ecosystems they form. Biodiversity losses are a clear sign that our own life support systems are failing. The ecosystems that determine the Earth's abilities to support us are run by plants and animals. I think I need to change my slide here. Okay. It's plants that generate oxygen and clean water, plants that create topsoil out of rock with their roots. They buffer extreme weather events like droughts and floods. And it's insect decomposers that drive the nutrient cycles of the earth and allowing each new generation of plants and animals to exist. It's pollinators that are essential to the continued existence of 80% of all plants and 90% of all flowering plants. It's birds and mammals that disperse the seeds of those plants and provide them with pest control services. Humans can't live as the only species on this planet because it's the other species that create the ecosystem essential for our survival. So you can see that biodiversity is not optional, right? So this next slide is, 50 to 75 years ago, most home landscapes consisted of a patch of lawn, sometimes a really big patch, maybe a few foundation plantings, a tree or two, and perhaps a small bed for flowers or vegetables. Landscapes, we didn't expect anything of our landscapes except for to look good. And even that was questionable sometimes. Plants were chosen for their color while they're in bloom, or what you could conveniently find at most garden centers. Maintenance schedules were, go one more. There's our maintenance schedule, right? Mow it, spray it, fertilize it, and then rinse, wash, and repeat. So this type of landscape requires an extensive use of mechanical equipment, unnecessary consumption of our limited natural resources, frequent application of fertilizers and pesticides, and the generation of significant amounts of solid waste, which go into our landfill, unfortunately. As a result, our surface and groundwaters are being polluted. Destructive flooding is far more commonplace, and our neighborhood's tranquility and air quality are compromised by noisy, polluting landscape equipment. It's kind of a funny thing to say to somebody who has a landscape company, right? All right. But the numbers are going to speak for themselves. Traditional landscapes use nearly 10 times the amount of water. They generate close to 3 times the amount of yard waste, and they demand 5 times the amount of time to maintain. In contrast, sustainability is defined as an approach to landscape and gardening that emphasizes plant health and longevity. Its goal is to create an environment that's in balance with the local climate and provides food, shelter, and habitat for a wide variety of living organisms. Sustainable gardening requires minimal resource inputs once established and focuses on finding ways to conserve natural resources like rain and soil. That was pretty much a downer, wasn't it? Okay, so instead of feeling helpless, it's an opportunity for us and also a responsibility for all of us to try to make a difference. So now we're going to talk about things that we can do to make a difference. This is just a few examples of some sustainable gardens. And you can see they're not boring, right? They don't have meatball shrubs or trees pruned up into round balls, but they're beautiful. Even when you look at the landscape in the more suburban area, with everyone has a front yard, but look at, there's hardly any lawn in there. There's just lots of native plants. So limiting our lawn size is the number one thing that we can do. Lawns are thirsty, time-consuming, and they generate waste. And we have 40 million acres of lawn in the U.S., and every square inch of that lawn replaces the diverse habitat for wildlife with a monoculture of non-native plants that we keep going with fossil fuels and chemicals that are toxic to most living things. If American homeowners converted half of their lawns into productive native plant communities, they would create a homegrown national park larger than the Everglades, Yellowstone, Yosemite, Grand Canyon, Mount Rainier, North Cascades, Denali, and the Great Smoky Mountain National Parks combined. And that's just by each of us replacing half of our lawn. That comes directly from Doug Tallamy. For those of you who were fortunate enough to listen to him a couple years ago when he came to Elk Rapids, made a huge impact on me. And everything he said just really resonated. So some of the things I'm going to talk about now come directly from him. So here's just some more pictures of sustainable landscape and what it can look like. So limiting our lawn size. One of the big things is proper lawn maintenance. For the places that you want lawn, if we practice proper maintenance, adjust your mower height to 3.5 inches, because the higher the grass is, the deeper your roots of the grass. And the deeper the roots, the less water it's going to need and the more drought tolerant it's going to be. In fact, MSU research has found recently that if we just make that one small change, you can almost eliminate damage to your lawn by grubs, just by letting your grass be a little bit taller. Also, grass needs about 1 inch to 1.5 inches water a week to keep it green. And it doesn't matter if that comes from the sky or from your sprinkler system, but it's better to do that in 1 or 2 applications a week so that you're watering deeper and more infrequently, and that's going to make those roots grow down deeper. It's better to do that than to do it a little bit every day, where your sprinklers turn on every day for 10 or 20 minutes. So if you want to know how much water or how long that takes, get yourself a tuna can or a cat food can or any little can that size. They're about 1 inch tall, and set those cans around your yard and run your sprinkler and see how long it takes to put 1 inch of water down. It's a really easy way, and then you can adjust your sprinklers to fix that. You don't need a rain gauge, although there could be pretty additions to your yard. Tuna cans work just fine. Also, adjust your sprinkler heads to water the lawn and not the driveway and the sidewalk and the road, because it's amazing on my drive to and from Elk Rapids to Traverse City every day from Elk Rapids, how many places I see with their irrigation on, and it's, watering their driveway, or it's going into the road. And in the summertime, if my windows are open, you gotta get quick into the other lane or you might get wet. And also leave your grass clippings on the lawn. They can provide about 25% of your lawn's nutrient needs, and they're 85% water, so they decompose really quickly. All right, let's see what we got here next. So here again is just kind of an overview. We already talked about the fact that we have 40 million acres of lawn in the US, and we use 800 million gallons of gas each year just trimming our yards. And this accounts for 5% of urban air pollution. The EPA estimates that one gas mower spews 88 pounds of CO2 and 34 pounds of other pollutants in the air every year. 17 million gallons of gas is spilled each year refueling lawn and garden equipment, more than what that was spilled by the Exxon Valdez. One gas mower running for an hour emits the same amount of pollutants as 8 new cars driving 55 miles an hour for the same amount of time. And we use 20 times more pesticides than farmers use per acre. We use 70 million pounds of pesticides yearly just on our lawn. And polluted runoff is the single largest source of water pollution that we have to our rivers, our lakes, our streams. Yard waste, mostly grass clippings, comprise 20% of municipal solid waste collected and still ends up in the landfills. Again, grass clippings are 80 to 85% water and they decompose very quickly. They can again give you 25% of your lawn's fertilizer needs when left in place. And we spend $40 billion a year on lawn care services. So you can see that their lawns are, you look out here, it's beautiful, right? But it's not feeding anything. It's not accomplishing anything but looking pretty. So lawns have less than 10% of water absorption, and it takes 238 gallons of fresh water per person per day to keep your lawns thick and healthy. $29 billion gallons of water annually in the US, 8.5 billion or 30% of it is outdoor use. And most of that outdoor use is for irrigation. So that's 7.8 billion gallons of potable water that we're not going to get back. 50 to 70% of our residential water is used for landscaping, most of it on lawns. And we spend an average of 40 hours a year mowing. The average household uses more water outdoors than for showering and washing clothes combined. That's a pretty crazy statistic. So here is just another screenshot of that deep rootedness. So when you water a little bit every day, you can see where the roots of the grass are. If you put down a ½ inch of water a week, the roots are a little bit deeper, the grass is a little bit thicker, but you can see if you put down an inch of water a week how deep those roots grow. It's going to be healthier, but you want to put that water down at one time. That's going to be better for your lawn than a little bit every day. As the depth of the root decreases, your maintenance increases. So the deeper the roots of your grass, the less you're going to have to maintain it. And then the slide below that is just showing what you can use instead of grass, different plants and their root structures. That's going to help. And we're going to talk about this a little bit later, help hold shorelines and help filter the rainwater down through the soil. So where could you lose the lawn and not miss it? In my house, I have a little patch of lawn on the riverside. It's only half the size as it was a year ago because we moved our vegetable garden into raised beds, and so we got rid of half of our lawn in the back. The front of the house has no lawn. This is not my house, by the way. I wish it were. It's really pretty. I have no lawn in the front of the house at all. It's just garden beds and the driveway, and Yeah, no lawn, nothing to mow there. So here's a few pictures of what you can do without lawn and still have green. So as you're thinking about maybe replacing half of your lawn with some other kind of planting, think in terms of where do I not need the lawn? You know, at our house, we decided we didn't need as much lawn because the grandkids are growing and we still have a little patch if we want to run around and, you know, kick the ball around or hit some golf balls or anything like that, but we don't need as much as we did when they were younger. And you can grow some ground covers instead of, if you just want green, but you don't necessarily need lawn. So the top picture is native wild ginger, and the bottom picture is foam flower or tiarella, another really nice native woodland plant. So where do you need lawn, where it's going to be kind of useful? So you want to keep the lawn, but maybe you just want to get off that weed and feed cycle. Maybe you want to switch to corn gluten. It's a pre-emergent herbicide that also supplies nitrogen to your lawn. Mow it high between 3 and 4 inches. So it's not going to look super manicured, but it's going to be a lot healthier. Or replace your regular lawn with drought-tolerant species, like some tall fescue. There's some beautiful native carex grasses like Pennsylvania sedge, things like that that you can use that look like grass, but won't require any mowing. Another thing you can do, and this is especially useful in areas where you have a lot of water runoff, is to build a rain garden. So rain gardens help in a number of ways. You place them in naturally low areas of your yard, and then you dig down deeper, and you have a layer of gravel at the bottom, and then you're planting soil, and you use native plants because the roots are going to grow down deep into there. So when you have water runoff, either from your roof or heavy rains, the water is going to collect in that rain garden, and what the plants don't use is going to percolate down through the soil, and those roots of the plants are going to help filter that water and return it to the water table cleaner than when it went in. So rain gardens are a good way to go to help replace some lawn. Okay, so the next thing that we can do besides the lawn, limiting our lawn size, is to protect our existing natural areas and also create additional ones. So for the purpose of my presentation, I just basically talk about 4 kinds of natural areas: woodlands, wetlands, meadows, and then stream corridors and shorelines. So this is, I gotta stand back so I can read it. So woodlands are gonna help purify our air and our water. You know, the roots of trees and large shrubs really help hold that soil and also will filter any rainwater before it gets into our water table. It helps reduce flood risk and it decontaminates soils. In the last 10,000 years, the world has lost 1/3 of its forest. Now, you know, 10,000 years, that's a long time, right? We didn't do that. But it's 1/3 of it has been lost just in the last 100 years. Or I'm sorry, half of it is just in the last 100 years. Wetlands, another natural habitat, and a lot of us who live on the lake or on the river in particular are really familiar with wetlands. So they provide habitat for thousands of species in aquatic terrestrial. They also hold more carbon than forests do. They help clean the water and filter it. They are home to 40% of the world's species, and wetlands are being destroyed more rapidly than any other ecosystem. Since the early 1800s, 40%, or 4.2 million acres of Michigan wetlands have been destroyed due to drainage, farming, housing, and road construction, and other developments. And the Great Lakes watershed has lost 62% of its original wetlands, and some parts of this region have lost more than 90% of those habitats. Wetland destructions has increased flood and drought damage, nutrient runoff and water pollution, and shoreline erosion, and it's triggered a decline in wildlife populations. They absorb more carbon than forests do. And peatlands only account for 3% of the world's land surface, but they can store twice the amount of carbon. So meadows provide an important breeding ground for invertebrates like insects. It's a key source of food for birds, amphibians, and reptiles. The meadow plants also provide food and habitat structure for small mammals, and in turn, those provide important prey base for raptors and coyotes and other predators. Stream corridors and shorelines are complex, and you know this, right? It's a complex system comprised of stream channels and banks, riparian areas, and the plants and animals within them. And they're playing an important role in providing unique and diverse habitat, flood protection, and water pollution attenuation. So you were talking earlier about the high water and having a lot of buffer zone in your yard between you and the water is going to really help with that flooding and the destruction that flooding can cause. Rather than having lawn and then a bunch of rocks right at the edge, plants are going to do a lot more to help you with that situation. Here's just some pictures of some different habitats. River, shorelines, riparian, meadows, and woodland forests, and things that we can do in our own yard to help preserve all those. And, if your water frontage looks like grass right to the end of the road, maybe you want to start by doing some buffer zone planting. If you live in the woods, maybe you want to add a buffer, get rid of some grass and plant some native woodland plants. Okay, so creating additional wildlife habitat, and you guys tell me when we're out of time, okay? Because this can be a long presentation. It doesn't have to go the whole way. So give me the high sign when you're ready. Okay. So creating additional wildlife habitat is going to really provide lots of benefits. I just went online a couple weeks ago and got my wildlife habitat certification from the Audubon Society. So I'm pretty excited about that. So some things we can do to create more habitat for wildlife are to add, water, because all living things need water, they need food, they need shelter, and they need a place to raise their young. So here's some things that we can do. How about having a brush pile? Instead of, getting rid of it all, you have a place then for all kinds of birds and creatures to live, to raise their young. Adding a bird bath, something as simple as that, access to water. Butterflies, dragonflies, birds, they all need it. Most of us have feeders, but how about planting some plants that are going to provide seeds and fruit for the birds? Log piles are also really good places for, although I saw like 4 rabbits hopping around my yard yesterday and I wasn't on my best behavior when that happened. Okay, so another thing that we can do is to use native plants. So landscaping with native plants, because they've evolved over eons in our natural areas that we live, they have formed an integral part of the life cycle of all the local wildlife too. They also kind of give our area a sense of being, right? A sense of place. By choosing native plants over lawn and non-native plants, you're going to be providing food and habitat for wildlife and a healthier place for you and your families. Native plants provide nectar for pollinators, including hummingbirds, native bees, butterflies, moths, and bats. They provide protective shelter for many mammals. The native nuts and seeds and fruits produced by these plants offer essential foods for all forms of wildlife. Long-lived natives such as oaks and maples are effective at storing greenhouse gas carbon dioxide, and thereby helping combat climate change. And because native plants are adapted to local conditions, they require far less water, they save time, money, and of course water. So no discussion about native plants is complete, I think, without touching on the delicate web that nature has developed over the eons. This is another thing that comes from one of Doug Tallamy's books. So let's take the monarch butterfly, because it's been in the news so much, talking about the decline. So we know that they only lay their eggs on milkweed plants. Milkweed plants use various forms of toxic cardiac glycosides to protect their tissues. That's very few insects can eat plants containing those toxins. But the monarch has developed the enzymes that make them less toxic. And they also have a physiological mechanism for storing these distasteful compounds in their wings and their blood. So that makes them less attractive to predators that would eat them. And they advertise that bad taste with a aposematic pattern of orange and black, which serves as a universal warning signal to would-be predators. Don't eat me, I taste bad. So in addition to the cardiac glycosides, milkweed plants defend their tissues with a milky latex sap that gels when it's exposed to air. So insects that attempt to eat the leaves of the milkweed plant can find their mouth parts glued permanently shut by that sticky sap. But monarch larvae have found an amazing but simple way to combat that, to get by that defense. They block the flow of sap to milkweed leaves, and they do this by chewing through the midrib of the leaf. And when they chew through the midrib, the leaf will collapse and stops the flow of sap, and then they can go and eat the leaf. I think that's so the specialization for the milkweed doesn't extend to other plants though. So out of the over 2,000 native plant genre in the US, a monarch can develop on only one, and that's the milkweed genus Asclepias. So if milkweed disappear, the monarchs are going to disappear. So when we choose plants for our landscapes, we have to remember to choose both host plants and plants that provide food and nectar. So for instance, the butterfly bush, or buddleia, we all love it. We want to plant it in our gardens because it's going to attract butterflies. But it doesn't have a host, it's not a host plant for any butterfly. No butterfly can use it as a host plant. It doesn't make it a bad plant necessarily, but if we want to encourage more wildlife, we have to think about the bigger picture. And I think that we have to get past the whole idea that our gardens have to be perfect and that there can't be any holes in the leaves or, because as Doug Tallamy said when he talked, and this is in his books too, a plant that's not feeding something isn't doing its job. So part of our thing is that we have to get past that. Everything doesn't have to be in neat, tidy rows. If you want butterflies, if you want birds, you have to have the caterpillars that turn into the butterflies and that feed the birds. So, for instance, chickadees, when they have a brood nest, they feed their babies between 6,000 and 9,000 caterpillars a day. And that's determined by how many babies they have in the nest. Yeah, and that's just for the 14 days. That is the average for fledgling. But after they're out of the nest, they still continue to feed them. It's just that scientists haven't counted how many caterpillars it takes beyond just those 14 days that they're in the nest. But they actually watch them fly back and forth. And that's where they come up with that number. So there was a speaker that I listened to on a podcast several years ago, and I'll end with this because I know we're almost out of time. This young gentleman, who is now quite an active environmentalist, he wanted to start his own garden. So he went out to the nursery and he sprung $10 to buy a butterfly weed. And he came home and he planted in his garden. He was so excited until one day he walked by and he saw a caterpillar eating his butterfly plant, his butterfly weed. And he ran to the shed to find his bug spray to kill it. And halfway back, he thought, maybe I better do a little bit of research about this. And he went in and started looking it up and found out that, that caterpillar was the larva for the monarch butterfly. And so it's just, we're so connected to nature in so many ways that we don't understand. And I think that the more we think about it and the more we read and the more we research, I hope that we all become better stewards of the environment and not worry about bugs and caterpillars on our garden, because we need them. Okay? Thank you.
Sure, yeah. Okay, so we thought we would give some time if people wanted to ask any specific questions while we have her here.
Yeah. One of your earlier slides said follow the 1/3 rule. What is the 1/3 rule? Oh, I gotta turn this back on. Okay, I gotta try to remember the 1/3 rule.
Okay. Yeah. So it is. It's the length of your mowing and the amount of water and the root depth. So yeah, that's what that is. Anybody else?
When people irrigate with lake water or river water, is that good or bad?
So that's a really interesting question. At my house, we don't irrigate at all. I take that back. We use our lake water, but we only use it to water our garden. We don't ever water our lawn, what little there is. I think that maybe a lake biologist would have a better answer to that than me. But I would imagine it's got to be good. It's got so many more nutrients in it. But then if you're using highly polluted water, it could be dangerous, or water that's been polluted by runoff of toxic chemicals. It's just like compost, using compost. If you don't know where that compost came from, or if you're composting plants that you've used chemicals on, most of us don't have compost piles that heat up to the degree that you would need to kill harmful compounds. So, do you have anything to add to that?
We are advocates for lake water irrigation.
Yes.
Our water is clean enough, safe
Good.
enough for sure. There's more than enough nutrients in it to feed the soil.
So that's a good thing. Yeah. And then also, if you're not using any chemicals in your yard, when you're irrigating with that water, as it percolates back down through the soil and goes back into our water table, you're not causing any more problems, and we're helping keep that lake water clean. Yep.
Do you have any resources, like, if you have an area lawn that we want to go back to natural, like what plants work well, or like
Yeah, so I think that there's a list of some different plants back there, but also Michigan State Extension has a really nice website that has, and I have a couple things in my folder I can show you as a start anyway for that. So I don't believe in green thumb or black thumb. You know, gardening is part science and part art, right? The science part we can all learn. The art part of it just comes from doing. So I think we're hardwired to garden. I think it's in all of us, so no, you don't have to have a green thumb, you just have to have the desire. Well, that's the beauty of native plants, is that, so there's no such thing as no maintenance, right? But there's such a thing as less maintenance. So once native plants get established, they're gonna require a lot less, just like the one slide that we had. They're gonna require a lot less resources, less water, less fertilizer, less time to maintain. But part of that too is just getting used to what that looks like, because it's not typically what we think of as landscapes. But it's, I think what we have to understand is it's not all about us, right? We have to share this planet with all living things. We can't survive without them. They'll be fine without us, but we will not be fine without them. Yeah?
I left my septic mound natural and just let grow what was going to grow. And I have a variety of things that were grown. And then suddenly I had like 2/3 milkweed plants. It is extremely invasive and prolific. So I sat there and pluck it every spring, parts of it out. Is there anything that I can try and put in there to calm it down a little bit? Obviously, I want milkweed. I think it's wonderful, but when half of your yard is milkweed, it's a little much. Well, we have a lot of no-mow zone also in our yard, it's just whatever comes up. But the milkweed is everywhere.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the things I guess you could do is take those seeds off before they ripen, so they don't, blow around. But they're not mostly coming probably from your yard; they're coming from everywhere else. That's just the nature. Yeah, it's just the nature of the plant. So I guess if you want to, I can't think of anything that's going to outcompete that. I think it's just going to be a matter of manually trying to control it. And also, the more generous you are with your plantings, in other words, the less open space between your plants, the less likely you are to have. So we don't use the word invasive when we talk about milkweed. Number one, but yeah, it is very prolific, yes. But it's doing what it was meant to do. So we might not like it, and I can understand where you're coming from, but I think that the easiest way is to just prevent that spread of seeds as much as you can, and then pull out, so that you keep some and you allow spaces for other things. Fill those places in with other plants. Yeah. Anybody else?
All right, thank you. Yeah, very good. But I would like to say that in the back, we have some samples of some 4 gardens, a buffer garden for a rocky shore, and it shows all the native plants that you could use, a buffer garden for a steep shore, one for a sandy shore, and one for a rocky shore. But anyhow, also, thank Torch Conservation Center in Alden. We have 2 representatives from there today, and what's going to be the new name of your center, Trish?
It's going to be the Torch Conservation Center Artisan Market.
Okay.
It used to be the True Gallery. They've changed names today.
All right. So it is a very good resource to, they have all kinds of pamphlets, and you're welcome to go back and talk to those ladies back there. But also the garden centers, and
I'm not sure how much is on our website, but if you want to, I can direct you to some information, your question maybe about that question you had. You know, that's a good thing, just not to do our, you know, ESLA email, we can direct you with some answers and stuff.
Yeah, so I had mentioned Michigan State, the University Extension site, they have, some publications, you know, just one-page things about shoreline and water plants to enhance your shoreline, and then just some helpful hints for, and that's just on the MSU's extension website. Also, look at the Homegrown National Park and the National Wildlife Federation. There, that's where you're going to find that really wonderful list of keystone plants if you're really interested in native plants. So the keystone plants are the ones that do the most. Like oak trees will, I think there's like 700 species of insects and butterflies and moths and pollinators that oak trees can support. So every plant has kind of I don't know, not really a number, but a rating, you know, as how many species they're going to be able to support. So that's a great National Wildlife Federation.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.